So welcome. This is episode 5 of HOD podcast. I'm here with Mahmoud AlBurai, Senior Advisor of Government of Dubai. Thank you so much for coming. We're very pleased to have you on board.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm very excited about today. And hopefully, people listening to us will find this very useful.
Oh, absolutely. So how we normally do our HOD podcast is first we're going to talk in generic about the ecosystem of real estate, and then we'll turn out to questions from the users of our platform, concerns that they have that hopefully you can help us to address. So let's get straight in, okay? So there's a lot of negativity right now when it comes to the real estate market. I hear reports, concerns about supply, but people want to understand where we are on the cycle. Let's have a micro view. Where do you think the market stands as we speak?
Well, thank you. This is a great question, and we always get this question. How is Dubai real estate market now? Should we invest? Should we exit? Should we buy? Should we rent? All these questions are valid questions. I'm always optimistic and positive person, not because of my position, but also because what I see on ground and we've seen the journey that Dubai real estate market went through from being
freehold in 2004
yes,
to
exactly,
where we are.
Exactly. So there are a lot of positive stuff. We have one of the best regulatory framework in the region. We've been also as a city attracting a lot of foreign direct investment, almost 200 billion dirhams on a yearly basis. 40% of people investing actually are foreign investors who are not residents. So all these signs say that we are an attractive real estate market. So we will continue because there are not so much competition, especially in this region. We're in a region that has almost 3 billion people that find Dubai always as attractive place to come, to work, to have a life, for businesses to come and locate. We have one of the easiest environment to do business. So why I'm talking about this, because we cannot look at real estate as buildings and apartments.
100%.
Real estate is a city. We're building a city. When we talk about some negative news, how we can make them positive news, well, we have so much supply, yes. But this means that we have a lot of options for us as end users to choose from. We have better quality. Those developers are competing with each other on so many things, on the quality, on the payments. So we as buyers or end users are getting very high. It's our market now. It's a buyer's market rather than a seller's market. The second thing is the prices are going down, yes, 30% since 2014. A lot of people talking about this in reports. This is also can be looked at it from the half that is full, not empty, which is the prices now are affordable. You can get a villa or a townhouse for 900,000 dirhams.
Absolutely.
This wasn't the case in Dubai. So I think people, all they need to is to be educated. I'm not telling them go and invest anywhere. No, you have to do your due diligence. You have to do your search. You have to deal with the right developer, right service providers. This is what we suggest in such scenarios. But you have a lot of options. Prices are affordable. You can definitely get a good buy.
But in terms of the government initiatives that are going on right now, which one do you think has the strongest push in terms of improving or perhaps bridging this gap of oversupply? Do you think Expo 2020, for example, will deal with that matter?
Well, Dubai has been always about build and they will come. And this is the country and this is the city. And we always say Dubai is a city that attracts talents, young people, attracts businesses. And we believe that the population growth is composite of the natural growth and also the growth of people who come to the country. So Expo 2020 definitely is a game changer, but it's not the only thing we should depend on. I mean, Expo 2020, Expo has been done in so many places, in Shanghai, in Italy, in Milano, and from real estate reports we've been reading that they had a very positive impact on the real estate market, especially on the hospitality side. So especially in Shanghai, there were I think the 40% occupancy rate of hotels before the Expo, and in the Expo and after Expo it became 80%. So we should look at the Expo as an opportunity because a lot of visitors will come, 20-30 million people will come. So some of them will like the city, the country, they may stay, they may live, they may start their own business. But also there are some government initiatives that we're taking recently. We call them the long-term solutions. So one of them is the long-term residency. And this is a game changer as well, because people always were asking, we want to feel more loyal. We want to feel we're
Just our
staying
home as
long.
well.
We may lose our job, how long we can stay. But now, if you buy a 5 million property, you can stay for 5 years. If you buy 1 million, you can stay for 3 years. Residency linked to property after going, of course, through the approvals and clearance. We have also 10 years golden visa given to business people and companies that have been here for a long time. So we started to see some of these long-term. We started to see also the impact of technology in real estate. So now land department is doing the blockchain strategy, which is going to make the real estate registration easier, faster, more protected. We also announced the crowdfunding. We also announced the partial ownership. We have innovative companies, and I see I like the idea of your company, by the way, HOD.
That's
And
great,
what you're
yeah.
doing is that you're connecting buyers and sellers directly. So we have a lot of innovative ideas in the market that we see that impacting real estate market. So, but I come back to the point that I said at the beginning. We look, real estate is important. It's 10% of our GDP, but we are looking at real estate in the context of building the city rather than in the context of building buildings and the maintenance and stuff. We want people living in these communities to live happier life. We want the service charge to be cheaper, and this is the mandate now we have. We want to reduce service charge, but at the same time provide people with happy community living in Dubai. So
Infrastructure, yeah.
these are the priorities now for the government, making the market more transparent by using technology, by providing data on the market performance, the supply, the demand, the prices, the rents, and so on.
Okay. So if we break this down, what you're saying is this is actually to deal with the negativity that people have, because I think a lot of the negativity comes from people. I invested, my building didn't get built, or the market price gone down. You know, I think we need to take a chance and have a proper discussion that, yes, that's a property cycle. This will happen. You know, we put money, we lose money, we make money. You know, and when everybody's making money, everybody's super happy. But when things don't go their way, then the negatives comes in. But what has been built so far is just incredible. And what you're trying to say then is that from a government level, we have so many initiatives that will deal with a lot of these points of supply, from, you know, the expo, the asset class, these changes of asset class in real estate, allowing fractional ownership, allowing potentially timeshare or even the crowdfunding as well. These will all be elements that will add to the pot and ensure that things will progress better, correct?
Definitely. I mean, the issues of investors. We always, I don't want to call it negativity. I want to call it worry, and this is a justified worry.
Oh, sure.
And this is even in so many developed markets. We have worries. We have people worried about their investment and so on. But why we have the regulatory framework and we have the regulations? Because we want to make sure that this life investment, I mean, this is life investment for so many people, is an enjoyable experience. So you end up having your property, you end up living in the property that you wanted with the qualities and features you want.
Yeah.
The issue is always with the off-plan. Off-plan is a risky, usually it's a risky business, not here in Dubai, but in so many countries. That's why the government comes in and try to regulate and protect people. And that's why you can protect them to a certain limit. But there's always some homework that has to be done by the investors. They have to know with whom they're investing, what kind of developers, what kind of projects. We still have investors who are depositing money out of the escrow account. This is
Giving cash to developers,
yes,
yeah.
cash don't give. You deposit only in the escrow account that is approved, that is on the RERA's website. So why you give developers out of the escrow account? Of course, our job is to prevent this. But also you as an investor, you have to be a smart investor. This is what we want. Yes, I know it's hundreds of pages of contracts, but go through them. Get a legal advice. Why I say you have to choose the right developer? Because off-plan means that the developer who will complete is the developer who is financially capable, who has done it before, who has a record of success, and this is easy to be found. If you go to the internet, the search, the RERA's website, you always can see which projects are delayed, how many years they're delayed, and who is developing them. And you can get an idea who is
behind,
who's in front. Usually, and I don't want people to take this negatively, usually for me, I look at companies who has a record of
Track
a
record.
history. They've
Correct.
been here for long term. Who's the owner, the management style, the product that has been developed. At the end, this is a home. We're not. It's not. We don't look at it as a box. Even investor who look at the rate of return, this is something short term. Long term, we will become more mature. This return will become less and less. But at least you are buying a good product that is well demanded by tenants, and that's why what I say is that the laws and regulations now, they're going through changes. We have investor protection law that is coming hopefully by the end of this year. We have the issues between the developers and the investors. We always have such issues, and and the government usually issue decrees and regulation to make sure that we are protecting the investors. We believe that investors are the ones that we need to protect because they are the weak, let's say, stakeholder within this equation. Developers has their experts and professionals supporting them. So at the end of the day, Dubai to grow, we need to be pro-investor, pro-end users, and we want long-term stakeholders in this industry, long-term who are having a stake in this country. You're buying a property in Dubai, this means you became a citizen of a choice. You became part of this country and this nation. And this is what Sheikh Mohammed recently said. This country is built for everyone. And yes, we want everyone to enjoy the experience of buying a property, but there is some part of responsibility that lies on
They
them.
need to have, absolutely.
They need to check. They need to know how much they're paying. They need to know with whom they're dealing, what kind of what kind of developer, what kind of, if you want to go through broker, what kind of broker, and they need to go to do their homework.
And also have a long-term view, because real estate is not about buying today and selling tomorrow. This was something that was done in the past. Everybody made money, everybody lost money, but take a view that real estate as an asset is something that you should look long-term and not just look at the ROI of year one.
Yes. Real estate is, as an asset class, we always look at real estate in the middle of two assets. Usually have the stock. It's very risky, but it's have high return. And you have the bonds, which is the lowest risk and the lowest return. And you have the real estate. It has medium risk and medium return. But it's meant to be a long term. If it's dealt with as a short term, then it behaves like a stock. And usually when you do the stocks, you see the stock market going up and down. So this is very risky. We are very lucky nowadays that we have less and less of speculators. We have end users. We have people who are smart. They want to live here. They want to stay. They want to have a good rate of return. It's a capital gain appreciation at the end of the day.
Which is still extremely high compared to other cities in the world, and the price per square foot is still cheaper than many other places.
There was a study done, looked at the 2030 cities, how affordable they are, the most expensive one on the top, and Dubai came in the bottom. So we're still affordable compared to international cities.
Absolutely.
With 1 million dirhams, $250,000, you can get a villa in Dubai.
Correct.
I don't think you can get a studio in a lot of developed cities.
100%.
Not even in the outskirts of the city. So we have a lot of potential as a country, as a city. Dubai, in all competitiveness indices, performed well, and this means that we have the right infrastructure. It's a cycle. We have to get used to it. Ups and downs. We fall down, we wake up. This is something normal. Even at personal level, people we will always go through stuff, crisis, challenges. Sheikh Mohammed always say, I don't call it crisis, I call it challenge. In Chinese, and I love always to take this example, if you look at the Chinese, how they write the word crisis, it has two symbols. One symbol resembles danger, the other one opportunity. So in every downturn, in every challenge, we have to look at opportunities. The best time to buy is when everyone's selling. So now, the best time to sell when everyone's buying. So you have to time your investment. When to enter, when to exit, how long you stay. All these are financial investment decisions that you have to take. You have to know what's your investment vision, what do you want to achieve, why you need this money, when, how. You're a short term, you're a medium, you're a long term. So this is all homework that we always say that investors have to make.
And it's so interesting because a lot of the debate about the market goes around, well, the population is not growing fast enough to support the supply. But you actually made a very interesting point this week on one of your social media pages that 44% of the buyers are non-resident. What you ask people about their view. What's your view on this?
I wanted to cheat from people what they think. But 44%, this means we are an attractive real estate market.
100%.
And the growth will not only come natural growth from population growth inside the country, but also the growth of investment that's coming from outside the country. And let me tell you that recently I've been receiving a lot of requests and emails from funds and investment funds and institutional funds that they think this is the best time to invest in Dubai. So we're looking at also long-term quality institutional investors that find now Dubai more mature for them to come in. Maybe a long time ago, they looked at us as more of a startup real estate
almost a
market.
startup, correct,
More
yeah.
now we're talking about
It's getting more mature.
18 years of freehold
Correct.
market. We're a mature market. We have we have an economic cycle of 7 to 8 years. We expect ups and downs. The good thing, and as a government official, if you look at this recession or this downturn compared to 2008, we see that Dubai learned so much from the 2008. It's more of a soft landing now. We have even the prices going down in a very sustainable, soft way. We don't have the issues of the so many projects that were on hold and completed and cancelled and non-cancelled and all these stories. So we became, as a market, more resilient. So from the research we've been doing on competitiveness of Dubai real estate market, investors are not only looking at rate of return and risk, they're also looking at the resilience of economy. How much recession, how much tension we can absorb and we become stronger. There is a theory, it's called anti-fragile theory by Nassim Taleb, professor in the US. He always says that when we are under a crisis or a recession or economic stress, this is the opportunity for us to emerge stronger. And we emerged stronger from 2008 when we had the Expo in 2013, the news, and even the Expo itself, the news of Expo made the market jump by 30-40% in few days. So what we're saying is that Dubai will always reinvent itself. We have a visionary leadership. We have forward-looking leadership.
And that's the point. I think in any government structure, the government is the number one priority in the positive decisions against other governments that not necessarily look at the people the way the UAE does. So this is incredible. But you travel a lot. You know, you're a member to a lot of federations. And what is the sentiment from overseas, inwards, UAE? I mean, we talk about people here and what they think and what they see, but what is the general sentiment right now?
Thank you for reminding me that I travel too much. My wife does this. She reminds me all the time.
For work. We're talking for work.
Yeah. So, yes, I've been traveling to so many countries,
Correct.
especially the US and Europe and Asia as well. And the brand of Dubai is a unique brand. And whenever you mention that you're from Dubai, you're representing Dubai government or the real estate industry in Dubai, you get a lot of attention from developers, from institutional investors, and from all the trips we made. We convinced a lot of people to come and locate in Dubai and do their business from Dubai. So Dubai is a global city. It's on the global map, and what we see, the interest from the countries that I've visited, from institutional investors specifically. And why I say institutional investors usually invest. They look at the quality of investment, the environment, the laws, regulations, data, transparency.
At the right time.
So they've done their homework.
Correct, yeah.
And they're telling us this is the best time to invest in Dubai. They want to do business, but they're thinking of helping people here who want to diversify. I mean, in real estate or in any investment, you don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Sure.
So you can invest in Dubai real estate market, you can invest in other markets, you can put some of your fund in stocks, some in bonds, and so on. So this is life. I mean, it's a basket of assets. So from our relation with these countries and being part of international bodies, we get to know also best practices.
Of course.
How to do this, how we regulate this, how this has done in Singapore or in Australia or Canada or the US or Europe. And we always look at ourselves, we're not competing at the Middle East level. This is, something we think that we are on the top of real estate markets in the region. We want to be a global market. And that's why if you look at the new laws in terms of crowdfunding, real estate investment trust that's going to be coming, all these new products will
Enhance.
be received very well by international
100%, yeah.
investors, because for real estate usually people need the local knowledge, but for such liquid assets, people don't need the local knowledge. They need an assets that's easy to invest anytime and exit. So we have now attractive products for international investors as well.
Yeah, which is amazing. Now, in terms of developers, obviously been a lot of debate about this long-term payment plans, how they should go about it. I mean, we went through a position that probably 5, 6 years ago, nobody would touch off-plan. Should the last 12 months be in a complete rush to off-plan buying? Obviously, developers start to understand that the buyers, they need to be facilitated with a payment plan because they cannot afford to rent a house and buy at the same time. That's why the resale market got a little bit of a hit in that sense. People preferring to pay slowly in installments, wait for 2, 3 years to get their villa, as opposed to have the cash right now, the down payment because of the mortgage cap. But there's a lot of debate about this post-handover payment plans. Can developers sustain that? Can they actually deliver on the promise? Well, what's your take on this?
Well, that's a good question. If we look at the central bank and what they're doing with the off-plan market, the max that banks can lend is 50% LTV. So not a lot of people can afford, especially people living in Dubai and residents and people who have jobs, they cannot afford this. And that's why I don't blame developers for jumping in and providing such a facility, rent to own, or
Sure.
5 or 10 or years of payments and stuff. But the only word that I have is that we're taking risk away from banks and we're putting them on the shoulder of developers and eventually on investors. So just an assumption, worst case scenario, what can happen is, let's have a product. We announced a project as a developer and we're depending on people's payment. Let's say that the prices went down a little bit more and people found it not interesting to continue, and you have a lot of defaulters. And if you're not strong enough as a developer and you don't have money in your pocket, then you cannot deliver this project and a lot of people will be hurt. So, and that's why this such facility cannot be done by any normal developer. It will be done only by a strong financially developer who can sustain it and who can deliver on time. But this is also taking from their profits as well. But they want to do it because this is the only way for them to get people back to the off-plan market, giving them, actually it became more interesting than existing market for people. It's more affordable in terms of prices and they have flexible payments. The risk is a big factor that is there on the shoulder of the developers. I mean, personally, I worry about some developers who announce such long-term payments, because this means if we have a huge percentage of defaulters, then those guys will not be able to deliver these projects and fulfill. And we also think this is the job of the banks. At the end of the day, financial institutions have better risk management tools than developers. I think there should be more cooperation between developers and banks and central bank and governments in the UAE to reach more sustainable solutions for financing. Definitely, we came to the point that we need financing tools and products for end users, for residents of Dubai. If this is coupled with the long-term visa and residency, then we'll have more sustainable communities living in Dubai who has better comfort, and they feel that they have their home, they have their residency. Even if they lose their job, they still can find one, they can start. And that's why economic growth is an important part of the equation.
Sure.
We hope that the central bank takes action in terms of supporting innovative products, but at the same time studying the risk that comes from such product. We don't want the subprime crisis that the US had. We don't want products that can be risky to the financial system. And eventually, real estate is a huge percentage of our GDP. Whatever happens and shock this industry will shock the whole economy.
It has a domino effect. But you think then, in that basis, that consumers, at least first-time buyers, should be giving a better LTV logic than the current one?
Yes. 80% or 75% that is given now for existing property is good. I mean, I think it should be 80, but if it's 75%, it's still fine. But what is not fine is for LTV for off-plan.
Right.
50%.
So you think that should be increased? I mean,
definitely, it should be increased, but especially nowadays, we're talking about, and this is a personal opinion as well, that we are in the bottom of the recession or the slowdown or the downturn.
You think that's it? We bottomed
I
out?
mean, we're almost there.
Yeah.
So I think banks will not be in a risky position if they give more than 70% or
Right.
80%.
The liability is not so much.
Exactly. So I do recommend that. I mean, we do think that for a sustainable real estate market, we need to have stronger financial products that caters to end users. The 44% that I asked yesterday in my LinkedIn, what do you think about it? From my thinking is that we have a lot of people who are resident in Dubai still don't own their homes, and this is opportunity for the real estate sector. If we give them product that they can afford,
Yes.
then we have a treasure. We
Absolutely.
can turn them into buyers, and they're long term here. They have jobs, they live, they have residency, they can pay a service charge, they can commit, they're part of the country.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go a bit deeper down on brokers right now, because well, I think there's at certain extent consumers are still a bit confused to their role, their responsibilities, how much they should charge, what's legal, is not legal. You constantly see on social media people asking, is legal to charge this? Is legal to charge that? What is the actual current structure from brokers, and what do you expect from them? Because at the verge of technology and all the systems in place that RERA has put to support them and make more compliance and transparency, what do you expect on the next years to come in terms of the practices and how things should be done?
Well, this is a good question
Yes.
on brokers. And I said in Bayut Summit that brokers are ambassadors. I mean, they represent most of the time in any transaction you can find them, and that's why we want to make sure that we have the right brokers in the industry. Otherwise, people will not go through brokers, right?
Yes.
So in terms of commission, the law is silent on this. As long as people agree on what should be the commission, this is what should go. But in our bylaw 85 2006, if there is no agreement, then it's 2%, 1% buyer, 1% seller. And this will continue to be the case. We will leave it up to the market and up to the people to decide on the commission and how much and who should pay it. Usually, in the practice nowadays, it's the buyer. International practices, so usually the seller.
Yes.
We'd love to see more balance in between. I mean, frankly speaking, I think out of fairness, it should be divided 50% between buyers and sellers. And now if you want to give more incentives to market, there should be less cost. People now look at transactions that they can reduce cost. So if I can reduce the 2% broker fees and use HOD,
Yeah.
some people will love it. I
Yes.
mean, some people think that going through such platforms will save them money and will save them maybe time. So in terms of, we will continue to regulate real estate brokerage industry to make sure that only good ones stay. But at the same time, the regulation supports brokers' rights whenever it comes to disputes. If they have the proper documentation, they use Form A, B, I, and F, and all the forms that we're using. We have now Tarakhisi where they can get permission for listing. So we support the ethical, the long-term brokers, but the ones who don't fall in this category, I don't think they have a future in Dubai, not because of the regulation, but also people are talking a word of mouth.
Yes.
So people, brokers who want to stay for long term, they have to be ethical, transparent, sustainable, represent their buyers or sellers in the right way, and represent their best interest.
Sure. So basically what you're saying is there's no defined regulation in terms of how much they can charge. So the market determines that.
Yes.
That's the point, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the consumer now, especially technology, they are be giving a choice. And that choice will allow the brokers to get better because they're going to be pushed by the competitors and by technology as well. And for platforms or marketplaces, this is just inevitable. This is happening all over the world, and it's always going to be what the consumer wants, what he feels comfortable, and the options are there. That's great, Mahmoud. So what I want to do now, I want to jump to some Q&A because we got a lot of people now on social media asking us questions about specific questions that they need some answer. So let's talk just about RERA and what RERA's role is. I think there's a lot of misconception to what RERA does, and I think everybody perceive that if I walk into RERA this afternoon, I get all my problems resolved, which is not necessarily fair on RERA. So what's the role and what to the extent that you're able to help consumers?
Well, RERA was established in the year of 2007, so a lot of people expected us to solve the problems that started before 2007. RERA, as a regulatory agency, as per law, mandated to take care of real estate stakeholders and protect the stakeholders' rights. So we regulate the relationship between developers and investors. This is one side. We also do, we are mandated by the government to lead the licensing and, control the licensing process. So all the real estate activities are licensed by RERA, and this means that it's supervised and regulated. We take care of all the complaints between investors and developers one side, investors, brokers, investors, brokers. These are the issues of daily basis. And also the owners association management. This is also part of what RERA does. The owners association management, the service charge approvals, the managing of communities. Usually when things become a legal dispute, when it comes to contract itself and the drafting of the contract, RERA does not get involved.
Correct.
Usually it has to go through courts. And this is where the misconception, people
True.
think that they always have to go through RERA. I mean, RERA can support to a certain limit, but if it's a contractual dispute...
Which a lot of times is.
Yes, it has to go through courts. And this is what people don't want to go through courts. It's long process, it's costly, but this is part of the process. They should... I mean, no one buys a real estate without going through the contracts.
Correct.
And usually the contracts are written by developers, so most of the times, unfortunately, you cannot find so many clauses that is in the investor side. I would love to see this changing.
Especially with the delivery and the timing of delivery as well, and penalties for not delivering on time.
But although this is the case, we interfered, and also we made sure, especially in the delivery and the payment, although a lot of developers, they were linking the payments with times, we came and said no. We canceled even that thing in clauses of contracts, and we said no. Payments are linked to construction. So we came and we protected the investor. So
from that point of
we
view,
make sure that the money from escrow, if you pay in the escrow account, your money is safe. The developer does not complete the project, your money is there. How much? It depends on when the project started. But as long as all the payments have been made there in the escrow account, money will only be spent on the construction. You build 10%, you get 10%. You stop, we continue. We have other developers to continue. If it doesn't, it's canceled, then it's can be liquidated, but not a RERA. Liquidation of projects, cancellation of projects go through a special committee that was formed by the ruler of Dubai to deal with all the cancellation of projects. So people have to know that the cancellation also is not done at RERA level.
It has its own process.
It has a process, it's a court process, and it's a process.
A long one.
Hopefully no. And that's why I always say, choose the right developer, choose the right project, deposit in the escrow account, and make sure that you only pay when the RERA says, yes, there is construction in progress and you can pay.
Okay.
And this is what we always recommend. Some people get attracted to certain developers saying that if you pay now, you get 20% less.
Right.
If you buy 3 apartments, you get 40%, whatever. Personally speaking, whenever I see so many incentives, I get worried because this means that
too good to be true.
There's something, yeah. You will get a BMW car that's 400,000 with an apartment that's 500,000 or 600,000.
Yeah, there's something not right.
Sometimes you don't feel that.
Common sense. Yeah. So it comes to the problems, and so you tend to get people to walk into the office and say, I pay cash to the developer now, things are not going well. What are the kind of things that come your way? Which comes back to that due diligence, to that understanding to what you do in the first place.
Yes.
So what are the problems it comes your way every day?
Service charge. Usually people come and complain service charge is too much, and that's why RERA has now auditors who audit all the service charge and approve them, and we actually reduce them, and we force the developers or owners, management companies to
come in your
give
place.
a more reasonable service charge. At the end of the day, service charge is part of the life cost of the buildings and property, and it can take and eat out of the returns, and that's why we care a lot about it, and we make sure that we have good, transparent system that audits all these numbers and make sure that people are paying the right amount that they should pay for the common areas, and also the buildings are taken care of. So even to what we call to enhance the value of buildings, and you as
Yes,
an investor,
correct. You need to make
if
sure
you
it's
invest in your community and pay the service charge, this means your community will look better and you
be
can
taken
sell it
care
at
of.
higher price or rent it at higher return.
Exactly.
We feel that market now is much more mature than any time before. There is some pain that we're taking, but this is part of it. You take the medicine to become well,
You get
hopefully.
well. But from the maintenance point of view, isn't it true that after the first year that the property handover, you should support an independent maintenance provider? Developers can be the maintenance provider over a period of time.
I mean, usually it's the first year, and you should have the owners association management,
Should be
then the owners
formed.
association board, and then things are there. But now RERA is there to protect people till we have the owners association law in
Yeah.
place, the new one. So currently we're dealing with cases by cases. Some developers are still there because they still own property, and
Sure. They have
some of them are
majority of the
out.
stuff,
Some
yeah.
of them still have some control that we're trying to take away to make sure that everything is done as per laws and regulations, and there is a transparent and open book transactions.
In terms of rentals, again, I think a lot of people think I'll go walk into RERA to sort my problem with my landlord. What's the right position in that case? Where
have
should
a
they
good-
go? Is it in RERA who resolves it, or there are the different departments that are responsible for this?
Disputes when it comes to rents now are handled by the dispute center. We have a rental dispute center, has judges. This is more of a court for rentals. All they can get from RERA is the RERA index that shows how much rentals in these areas,
Correct.
how much they can pay for the landlord or vice versa. It's there from information point of view, but
Correct.
if there is a dispute, RERA is not the right place. The dispute goes through the dispute center.
Okay. Mahmoud, thank you so much for participating on the HOD podcast. I'm sure our listeners, consumers will really grasp what's going on, because I think there's a lot of, we ask questions from different industry leaders, but from a government point of view, it's nice to hear that things are progressing on the right path. So it's a really pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. And final advice to everyone listening to us is that knowledge is power.
100%.
Get as much knowledge and information before making decisions. And don't worry, I'm very optimistic and positive that the years coming ahead are bright.
Me too.
Thank you.
Me too. I couldn't agree more. So thank you for listening. This was the end of episode 5 of our HOD podcast, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.